up, you beautiful bastards? Hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. Welcome back to the DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is we had the video game Fortnite in the news for a number of reasons, and one of them was actually one of the most requested stories today. The first piece being the worldwide takeover is very real. Tuesday, Epic Games announced that there are 125 million players, which is just insane considering this game was launched July of 2017. Also among the big moves, they announced the 2019 Fortnite World Cup, this including details on official qualifiers all over the globe. Yesterday we also saw Epic Games having their Fortnite Pro-Am tournament. You had 50 celebrities teaming up with 50 Fortnite players who are celebrities in their own right, and they all played duos fighting one another for $3 million in charity. And the champions that emerged from the event were Ninja and Marshmello, who got $1 million for their charity. And just seeing the quality of event that was put on, the number of people that were tuning in, also it definitely does not hurt. It was for a good cause. It was just a really great thing to see. But despite all of that good, all of that positivity, Fortnite was in the news for another reason. A clip from an Australian TV show called The Today Show has gone viral. They also promoted this clip on Twitter with the caption, "It's proven that violent games like Fortnite increase aggressive behavior and a lack of empathy in players. Will you let your kids continue to play?" But here's the thing, while their caption for that clip is very definitive, when you go into the actual video itself, even though the woman is very much speaking against Fortnite, she then pulls back and minimizes. It's very weird. Okay, here, watch.
Look, there's unequivocal research about the impact of these sorts of games. There's over 130 evidence-based pieces of research that tell us that violent games like this increase aggressiveness, increase angry thoughts, increase aggressive behaviour. So we can either choose to dismiss this sort of research or take it on board as parents and say, this is what the scientific community is telling us.
And the response to that part is no, the scientific community at large is not saying that. You do, here and there, have some examples like a review of scientific literature by an American Psychological Association task force saying they identified a consistent relation between violent video game use and increases in aggressive behavior. But many academics have pushed against that. In fact, hundreds of them signed an open letter criticizing what they considered bias and poor methodology by the APA task force. It's also something our Supreme Court has chimed in on. In 2011, in a 7-2 vote, they said that California could not ban the sale of violent video games to kids. Justice Antonin Scalia writing at that time, "Psychological studies purporting to show a connection between exposure to violent video games and harmful effects on children do not prove that such exposure causes minors to act aggressively. Any demonstrated effects are both small and indistinguishable from effects produced by other media." We could take up an entire show or multiple shows talking about study after study after study that go against what this woman on this BS clickbaity video is saying. But unfortunately, I believe there are a number of people that are locked into thinking there is a connection. And that's incredibly disappointing. In a 2015 Pew Research survey, they found 40% of the people they surveyed, they believe that there was a connection between video game violence and real life violence. But then you have these mouth breathers like this woman popping on any television show that is excited to fearmonger, and then they actively do it. But like I said, if you then watch the clip, she then minimizes it by saying,
well, this is not bad for them, is it?
Look, it's not bad for them so long as it's monitored, would be my advice. No one's saying for 1 second, don't play it.
What do you mean nobody's saying don't play it? Her argument, which once again is inaccurate, that the scientific community at large is like this makes people aggressive. It strips people of their empathy. But I'm not saying don't play it. It's just, play it a little bit. Have a parent monitor the thing that I said is devastating to your child. And what I would say to this woman and other fearmongers out there is, I believe that you are a ridiculous human being. Unfortunately, I am aware that it is very likely that you are the kind of person that when you get any pushback, you see that as validation that you are right. And all I can really hope to do here is shine a light on what I see as pure idiocy and use my hopefully bigger bullhorn to get the actual reality out there. And if I seem a little bit frustrated here, I'm just tired of hearing this. I was a kid in the 90s and they said the exact same thing, and no amount of research is going to apparently stop people from saying this disproven bullshit. I'm just tired of it, especially as a kid that grew up with lots of anger issues, and video games were always an outlet for me, not a motivator or something that made me more aggressive. But hey, that last part is based off of my personal experience, my opinion, and of course, as always on this show, I'd love to know what you think about this. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome, brought to you by Phil.Ting.com. Ting, of course, the fantastic pay what you actually use, no BS overage fees, other carrier trick cell service. And when you're just paying for what you actually use, you usually pay less. The average Ting customer pays just $23 a month for their one device. And their fantastic nationwide LTE service works with whatever phone you want to use, whether you're old school, you have a Motorola Razr, and all the way up to current times with your Galaxy S9s and your iPhone 10s. And so if you want to check it out, you want to see the rates, you want to see what your lower bill could be, just go to Phil.Ting.com. And if/when you make the smart move like many from the nation already have, you will get $25 off your first bill or $25 towards a new device. And the first bit of awesome today is actually a quick note to members of DeFranco Elite. One, if you don't have your notifications on there, make sure you have them on. I try to post only like exclusive tests, live streams, early stuff there, not to bother you. But today, and it will become more and more of the norm since we have now moved into the new space, we uploaded a rough test / pilot for a new bi-weekly or weekly series. And most notably, it's a show that involves a bunch of you. And so if you want to check that out, I'll link down below. Then we got the official teaser trailer for Dumbo, which just looks fantastic, and oh, I can't wait to cry next to my child in a movie theater. Then on the complete opposite end of trailers, we got a trailer for The Nun. It's a movie from the Conjuring universe, which, by the way, if you have not watched the Conjuring, at least just The Conjuring, fix that. It's a fantastic movie. Then we got an honest trailer for The Incredibles. We also got the honest game trailer for Detroit Become Human. We also got a new true facts from the granddaddy of online video, Zay Frank. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. Then let's talk about, do you remember this guy? This is of course the video of the off-duty FBI agent who decided to do a backflip, during which he accidentally dropped his gun, and when he went to pick it up, accidentally shot a man. And then somehow, despite it happening with a ton of witnesses and there being video evidence, that guy did not automatically get arrested. Well, thanks to an interview with ABC's Good Morning America, we learned that the man who was shot in the leg is a man by the name of Thomas Reddington. According to his attorney, the bullet hit an artery in Reddington's leg. And despite many of the initial reports seemingly try to minimize the situation, reportedly the injury was serious, but luckily Reddington is now expected to recover. Also, as far as the FBI agent at the center of this, he has since been identified as 29-year-old Chase Bishop. Bishop handed himself into police yesterday after a warrant was issued for his arrest. And he has now been charged with assault, and he is scheduled to appear in court today for a second advisement hearing. And in addition to this initial charge, he could face additional charges. Denver District Attorney Beth McCann explaining, "We are filing this charge now rather than waiting until the blood alcohol content report is received, which we understand could take another week because sufficient evidence has been presented to file it. If an additional charge needs to be filed after further evidence is received, we can file those charges then." And as far as an official response from the FBI, they have remained somewhat silent. After the arrest became public, they said, "In order to preserve the integrity of the ongoing investigation, we are unable to comment regarding this matter." Then adding they will continue to fully cooperate. But since that statement is pretty limited, in an unofficial capacity, I would like to kind of add on to it. Something I believe, as well as 99.9% of gun owners I've seen online have said, is don't do that. And as far as what that specifically means, I mean all of it. A backflip with your weapon like that, the way he reaches for it, additionally his reaction after firing a weapon in a crowded room and hitting someone. All of it. And to some degree, I can respect not throwing one of your own under the bus, but when one of your own does this, it seems like a much more simple situation. But that is my personal takeaway. And of course, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Then we had interesting news regarding news consumption. It feels like every platform right now, if they haven't already, are now pushing towards news consumption, whether it be the prioritized sections and shows that we see on Snapchat, Facebook signing deals with news networks for news shows just for Facebook. YouTube, of course, has their news carousel. They've done deals like with the Young Turks for YouTube TV. And Twitter is unsurprisingly no different, and reportedly they are now changing their Explore page. Reportedly, this is just a small part, a step in a much larger plan. For the Explore section, they're now going to have tabs for trending, you, news, sports, fun. Reportedly, for as many news events as possible, they want to assemble news stories, reactions, videos, moments like we've seen. Also in the past few months, while using Twitter on your phone, you may have seen one of these experiments when there's like a relevant news story that's automatically at the top of your feed. But one of the biggest things, and I think this is going to be where there is the most vocal pushback, is that to do all of this, you are going to need human curators. And Joanna Geary, who is the director of curation, says that Twitter is not a newsroom, but its employees responsible for news curation do write headlines, summaries, and make decisions about content, just like news organizations. And it very much feels like they're setting themselves up for a massive controversy, the likes of what we saw with Facebook back in 2016. There was that whole controversy and scandal that Facebook had an unfair bias against conservative news. And I think with Twitter, it would not be surprising if the controversy and scandal was even larger. And I think part of that is based on Twitter's track record as far as who they have suspended, who have they banned. Also with a CEO like Jack Dorsey, it's not going to take much to convince people that are in the middle or on the fence that there is going to be an unfair bias. I mean, Jack Dorsey was in the news recently because he apologized for eating at Chick-fil-A. I don't know if you saw that story. He was kind of promoting the Cash App, and there was a screenshot that said, "Your 10% boost to Chick-fil-A was applied. Oh cool, I saved like around $3. And he got called out by Soledad O'Brien, who tweeted, "This is an interesting company to boost during Pride Month at Jack." And he responded, "You're right, completely forgot about their background." And that is one of the lightest examples I could use. It's just one of the more recent and kind of more funny to me. But actually a question I do want to pass off to you regarding this story. What places, what platforms do you trust for your news consumption? Or for you, is it more specific people rather than networks or platforms. Why not? All the good stuff. Let me know down below. And then let's talk about the possibility of California being split up. And the interesting thing about California is that since it became a state, there have been at least 220 attempts to break it up. And in fact, the furthest one of these attempts ever got was back in 1859. It was 9 years after California became a state. The voters said, yes, we want to split it up, but then Congress never moved forward with the proposal. And then to move more recently, we've talked about some of these proposals since 2012. And one of the main figures at the center of these proposals is venture capitalist Tim Draper. Between 2012 and 2016, he ran the 6Cal campaign, which, as you could guess from the name, was a proposal to split California into 6 different states. And he was very serious about that proposal. In 2014, it was reported he spent $4.9 million of his own money on the initiative. But ultimately, the reason we are talking about Tim Draper and the potential of California being split up is it is one step closer today. After the Cal 6 campaign, Tim Draper started the Cal 3 campaign, an initiative and proposal to divide California into Northern California, Southern California, and California. And that initiative managed to get over 402,000 signatures, far surpassing the 365,000 required to get on the ballot. And while it's technically not on the ballot yet, as of June 28th, it will be certified by California Secretary of State Alex Padilla. And one of the main reasons Draper says he wants to make California into 3 states is that it would allow people to make regional-based decisions, saying that the needs of Northern California are going to be different from Southern California. And a spokeswoman for Cal 3 say, the California state government isn't too big to fail because it is already failing its citizens in so many crucial ways. The reality is that for an overmatched, overstretched, and overwrought state government structure, it's too big to succeed. Californians deserve a better future. Saying this change would simply divide it into a more manageable population like you have with the Carolinas, Dakotas, Virginias. Also arguing that this would allow Californians to be better represented on a federal level. And that, of course, is a situation we've talked about in the past, whether it be someone voting for president or state representative. Since when you're voting for president, it's not the popular vote. If you live in a state like California and you're voting the other way, you can feel like, well, what's even the point? But on the other side, you have critics claiming that this is ridiculous, that breaking up the states would waste billions in tax dollars. And additionally, even if the voters pass the initiative in November, experts believe that there is still zero chance of it happening. And one of the biggest reasons for that is that the California Congress would have to approve those plans, and essentially you'd be asking California lawmakers to fire themselves. And then on top of that, the United States Congress would also have to approve the split. And there, it's not really an ideal situation for anyone. For Republicans, during a presidential election, there is the likelihood that you would gain electoral votes that you would not have otherwise. But also, the way the state would be split currently, it would completely change the Senate. Right now in California, we have 2 senators, which of course is the situation in the Senate. Regardless of population of a state, you get 2. Right now, the 2 senators are Democrats, 2 of 100, and if you have 3 states, all of a sudden you go from 2 to 6. So all of a sudden there would be 104 representatives in the Senate, and based off of the current state split, it looks like it would go Dems 4, Republicans 2. And then of course, on top of that, past the Senate, you might get new districts for each of these individual states. And based on how those lines are drawn specifically in California and North California, that could even push further blue. So once again, it does appear to be incredibly unlikely that this becomes our new reality. But I think, if anything, the last few years have shown us that anything is possible. Unprecedented in 2018 is our new normal, and we should always be prepared for the reality of every possibility. But with that said, I do want to pass the question off to you. Whether you live in California or a heavily contested state, or a state where it's really just all one way, what are your thoughts on proposals to split up states like this? I'd love to know what you think as far as the positives, the negatives, whatever you have in your brain. Throw it out in that comment section. And that's where we're going to end today's show. And remember, if you liked this video, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, maybe even ring that bell. Also, if you missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you need something lighter / you want to be a part of a special video that we're setting up for VidCon, click or tap right there. I don't know why I kept mumbling. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.